Hi guys, welcome back to our Dutch farmhouse. If you're new here, my name is Naomi, and in this video I will be building a beautiful and magical bookshelf, which you already know because it's in the thumbnail. So this is the area that we're dealing with. Currently we have this chest here, which, by the way, you will not believe how heavy that thing is. It's not even funny. I got that off of Marketplace for our previous house, and I don't really like it here. So I've been playing with the idea of having a bookshelf here instead for a while now, just to put my books in, but also some little trinkets and things. And to be honest, this chest is only here because I needed a spot to put my lamp, because I wanted a lamp here. So I'm definitely gonna do something with lighting as well. But let me show you what I've got planned. So right now we have the chest, a big painting above it, and a plant to the right. And to get started, we're gonna move all of that out of the way. That is as soon as Steven is home, because 5,000 pounds. And then in its place, I will build a nice and simple bookshelf that is lifted a little bit off of the floor by some legs. It will have about 3 or 4 shelves, and then I want the top piece to be slightly wider than the rest, maybe have a little bit of a decorative trim around the top, and then I'll be painting the entire thing a beautiful dark forest green. Now, that does not make it special enough, but I'll be doing something special with the back panel. I will be using my laser cutter to create some kind of pattern cutout or an engraving that will lay on top of the back panel and make it very, very special. Now, what that's going to look like exactly, I will let you know as soon as I do. I took it upon myself to already cut all of the pieces to size. I figured you didn't need to see me cutting everything. Y'all probably know how a saw works by now. So I cut all of the pieces that I needed outside, with the added bonus of not having all that black dust and stuff inside the house as I do on my face. And then I brought everything inside, so I basically had one gigantic puzzle. Now the bigger sheet that I cut the sides from turned out to be very, very bent. So these pieces are in no way straight, but I am hoping once everything is assembled, this will correct itself. No! Empty battery. Now, usually you will see me working with wood, and I would have done that here as well, but I had a whole bunch of this very thick and super hard MDF stuff in the garage, and it was starting to be incredibly in the way. I've had this for a very long time now, and I've been waiting for a project that I could use it on. And it's really good stuff. It's very, very sturdy. It's also very, very heavy. I promise you I will not be able to move this cabinet in any way when it's done. It will be so heavy, but it will be sturdy. And as we're going to paint it anyway, I figured it's okay that it doesn't have a wood grain. And I really hope that I still feel this way when it's all finished. But as I was working on it, I made a little miscalculation. Made a little mistake. I cut the shelves for this thing deliberately 5 millimeters smaller than they should be, because I thought if I would be putting supports up to the sides that the shelves would lean on, it would be nice if they have a tiny little bit of space so that I don't have to hammer them in there. And also I really wanted to make sure they're not too wide and then push the sides apart. But as I mentioned earlier, the sides are incredibly bent. So I chose to do the bent side on the inside so that the shelf would push them outward, and that way it would be straight. But with the center shelf being 5 millimeters too short, it is still a little bit bent. It's only a 5 millimeter bit, but you can still see it, or at least I can see it. So I have 2 options. I can either cut 3 new shelves, which sounds like a little bit wasteful. It's also a lot of work. Or I could take this apart and shorten the top and the bottom piece, make the whole thing 5 millimeters smaller so that the shelves will fit. Sounds a little silly, but I think that is a fine solution. I think that's what we're gonna do. It does mean that we're gonna have a lot of holes at the top that I'm gonna have to fill up later, because I've already done it wrong one time, so there's already 2 sets of holes, and now there's gonna be another set. I hope it's gonna be fine. Oh, also, I decided to switch to shorts because I don't know what I was thinking wearing jeans, but it is 31 degrees outside, which is like almost 90 Fahrenheit, so no. Now that that's all fixed, I can puzzle everything together. Now I'm completely okay with the fact that this shelf cannot be taken apart, and also that we can't change the position of the individual shelves. I will not be making them adjustable or in any way. So I am securing everything with just screws. And then I just decided that when everything is assembled, I will add a little bit more interest to the outside of the cabinet using trim. Now that way I can completely hide any of the screw holes that I made, and I am adding some wooden detail, which I think is going to look really nice.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet.
Now this would obviously function perfectly fine as a bookshelf as it is, but this would not be a DIY of mine if I left it here. I am, however, going to leave it for today because it is incredibly hot and I don't want to do it anymore. So I'm going to continue tomorrow morning, bright and early. I will be going to the hardware store to get the trim for the sides and also the paint so that we can give it that beautiful color. I will see you in the morning, which for you would be in like 2 seconds. Good morning, guys. There's a little bit of a change of plan, nothing dramatic, but in the beginning I showed you the drawing where I used round feet to go underneath this cabinet. I actually had those left over from when I built that dog bed for Fox, but I actually ended up using different feet for that. So they were my backup feet. I was going to use them for this project, but I realized that they are too low for the vacuum to go underneath, like the robot vacuum. And that means that a lot of hair is going to collect underneath that cabinet. And I don't like that very much. But I obviously also can't have the bottom shelf to be super close to the ground because then all of the hair is going to be inside the cabinet, which is also not ideal. So I am actually going to raise it up a little bit just by using some pieces of wood. And then I'm going to trim it out and just have it be recessed a little bit so that it's why is that? It's just aesthetic, really. I don't know. I don't have a really good reason. I just think that looks better. So I'm going to add that to it, and then I'll be ready to do all the trim work and start painting. Oh, it finally rained, so it cooled down a little bit, and I am choosing the color for the cabinet. Now, I tried to get a green that was very close to our kitchen cabinets. I did go a shade lighter than this because the bookcase is going to go in a pretty dark spot, so it will look a little bit different, but I think I got pretty close, and that way I can pull a little bit of the kitchen style into the living room. Now you can see that the top trim piece here is thicker than the vertical ones, which was not intentional, but I do think I found a fun solution to it. I actually had my laser cutter cut out a little rosette that I will glue onto here and just paint along with the cabinet. I actually tested out this theory on the other one, which is why one of them is already green. I had to see how it would look if I painted everything, but I think it will be a very cute little detail. And then I could finally start painting the whole thing. Now I made the very questionable decision to not use a primer. I totally usually would, especially on MDF, but the thing is, this MDF is dark gray and MDF absorbs the paint weirdly, so I will need to do 2 layers. But if I prime everything, it'll be white. And then I will still have to do 2 layers because I have to cover the white. So I figured in the end, it doesn't really matter that much. Let's just see how this goes. People who know me know that I change hobbies like shoes. Like I will have a new hobby every 2 or 3 weeks. I like trying new things out, and if I don't like them, I will move on to the next thing. But at this very moment, I am very much into reading, and I mean like physical books. So I've always actually been into reading, but I've always listened to books on audio because, you know, I can do that while working on projects. I've never actually made the time to properly read books. I've also never really seen the appeal of buying a book and then finishing it and then holding on to it, putting it on a shelf somewhere, because why would you read that book again? You already know how it ends. But then quite recently, I realized that I can watch a movie after a year or two and just it being completely new. Like I have completely forgotten what it was about. Maybe I will vaguely remember the ending, but usually I can really enjoy it a second time. We actually just started watching You, the entire series, which I've already seen, but Steven hadn't. I was just as surprised as Steven in the first 2 seasons or so. Like seriously, I don't remember the ending. So I started buying books. And all of a sudden, I really started enjoying collecting them. So I've got a little bit of a collection now. Let me show you. Now this is not all of it, because one of them, which is Fahrenheit 451, Steven is reading that right now, so it's upstairs. And the one that I'm reading, which is on the table. Oh, and also there's more coming, because I ordered even more. So from this stack, I have read everything up to here. So these 4 or 5, I still need to read. That is partially why I decided that I wanted to build a proper bookshelf. I actually already wanted a bookshelf in that spot, but right now I just had a really good reason, because I wanted to put those books away in a pretty spot and just look at them. I also suddenly kind of enjoy having like a stack of books that I still need to read, so that you can like see it and then get smaller, knowing that I can buy a new book. So I mostly enjoy thriller books. The darker the better. Horror books as well. And if you have any recommendations, let me know. If you want a recommendation from me, this one. I went through this in like 2 days, and it's like 400 pages. I read this so fast. It's also got really short chapters, which is why it makes it so easy to read it fast. This is a thriller book. Is it? Yes. I mean, it's not really scary or anything, but it's definitely very, very suspenseful, very tense. This one is my favorite, but I think it's a little bit of an acquired taste. It has a very dark undertone, but it doesn't read as a very dark story. It actually almost reads like a fairy tale or a folk tale more than a thriller book, but I loved it. I really loved this one. If you have any recommendations, let me know. So very soon I will start to create those panels for the backside here with my laser machine. So I did a couple of test pieces. Whoa. This is kind of what it will look like. So what I did here is I painted the wood first, and then I sent it through my laser machine. So the engraving is not painted, it's just kind of burned dark wood. I think that's going to look really, really good. Now I will have to do 2 panels for each shelf, and that is simply because my laser isn't wide enough to do the entire thing at once. I'm gonna have to do it in 2. That's fine, but I actually just painted a couple of these sheets green so that they can dry, and then I can run them through the laser. I know that it's going to take a long time per sheet to engrave. I did a little test piece that was like 10 centimeters square, and that took about 15 minutes per square. I haven't checked yet how long it's gonna take to do the entire sheet, but it's gonna take a while. What do you think? I will have to do another layer once it's dry, and then in the meantime, I will get on with those back panels.
Could you maybe move out of the way? Because I know this is your favorite spot, but it's also a door. Thank you.
How do you like your new spot? You are on top of our new bookcase. So to answer my own question that I had earlier, it takes 2.5 hours to engrave 1 panel, and I need 8. It is currently Friday, very late in the afternoon, and I have 3 panels done. The 4th one is in the laser right now. I'm not sure how long this is gonna take me, but I'm probably gonna get it done at the very, very last moment that I need to, finish the video to go live on Sunday night. So that's gonna be exciting. It is also not looking exactly the way I'd hoped, and that's mostly because my laser has a couple of little issues, which is that it's not cutting straight. It's not actually doing a straight line. But let me stop talking and show you. This is one of the panels. I think this is the first one that I did. I love the pattern. I definitely love the pattern. I am not super thrilled about the contrast. I had hoped that this could be a little bit darker, and obviously I could have done that. I could have changed the settings so that it would engrave deeper, but then it would also have gone slower. At this time, the laser is set to 100% strength, and then, I can just tweak the speed that it will engrave in. And if I go slower, it will become darker, but I will not be done in time. So this is what we're working with. As you can see, a couple of the edges are a little bit burnt, but that's fine. I'm just gonna go over that with a little bit of green paint so that you won't see as much. And as I said, it's 2 panels. So for each shelf, we have 2 panels. So you are going to see like a seam in the center. I am going to try and reduce that as much as I can by just putting paint in it. And then I'm just gonna put stuff in front of it. So as I am just waiting for that laser for the next 100 hours anyways, I think it's a good idea to just put the bookcase in its spot so that I can put the art prints and stuff around it. I'm just gonna wait for Steven to come home, but he'll be here in, I think, about half an hour, and then we can move the super heavy chest out of the way and put the bookcase in its place. And we'll move on from there. What is kind of cool though is that the engraving kind of looks like gold. So it kind of looks like it's got a gold pattern in it. Kind of love that. I am, however, very curious how it's gonna look when it's in its final spot, because it's a lot darker there, so it will look a bit different, but we'll see. I totally forgot to film this, but the chest is out of the way. I am just removing everything else so that the cabinet can go in its new home, and I can hang up the frames that I had picked out for here. Now the smaller one definitely needs a different print in it. I don't like the colors of this one. It also doesn't go with the cabinet at all. But I will do that next week when I'll be working on a whole bunch of small DIY projects, including upcycling this hideous lamp and creating some decor things for inside the bookcase. Okay, so we've got 4 panels done. So in theory, I could at least do 2 shelves. Let's see. Now it's a little bit tricky because I made them very precise, or as precise as I could. There. I mean, it's not perfect, but it looks really good. And I don't know how this happened, and I didn't anticipate this, but the pattern actually has a little bit of a shine to it. So it actually looks coppery or goldish. I love it. I think this looks really, really good. This is very exciting. Good morning, guys. The very last panel is currently in the laser machine. Yesterday, I decided to order a new laser machine because, as I said, this one it's becoming increasingly unreliable and it's not as precise as I would like it to be. So I ordered a new one, which is super exciting, but I think it heard me. So now it is acting up even more, and yesterday it even set something on fire. So I'm keeping a very close eye on it right now. It just has to do one more panel. Just one more panel, please. Anyway, I've got a lamp. Actually, wait, hang on. This is not what it looks like. Kind of like this. Very pretty, and I want this on a shelf right here. But the idea of having to cut a hole in the back of that beautiful cabinet that is big enough to fit this through is breaking my heart. So I thought if I could just take it apart and remove the wire, then I only need to cut a tiny little hole that the wire will fit through, and then we'll just assemble everything once I've done that. So last night I spent quite some time taking this thing apart, and I really hope that when I put everything back together it still works, but we will see. There we go. Now I just have to put it back together. Fingers Fingers crossed. Yes! It works. I will no longer keep you waiting. Let me dress this beautiful thing up and then show you the final result. By the way, just a shameless little plug here, but if you would like a set of these adorable woodland creature bookmarks, go over to my website, dutchfarmhouse.com. You can get these and many other things over there. I loved doing this project. I love how it turns out. I am very, very happy with the results. I do think that I could make some improvements on those back panels if I ever choose to redo them. I only secured them with a little bit of double-sided tape, so if I ever want to replace them, I could very easily do so. But for now, I'm very happy with how it looks, so I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. I hope to see you guys next week for a whole list of little DIY projects. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you then. Bye, guys.